And welcome to the Crawford Podcasting Network for a giddy down in the blocks with Chris Young, our co-host of this great podcast we've had now for the second year. And CY is giddy. His former team he played for, the Michigan Wolverines, is on an absolute back to starting out a roll again after 23 days off. But he's also hanging out in Fort Myers at some nice living large condo down there with his wife. And I'm up here. He's got back from the dog walk, and it's, like 12. The wind chill's about 0. So to hell with you, CY. Let's I'm going to start out pissed. But I'm not pissed off because how about those Wolverines yesterday? You had to be happy.
Unbelievable. I was not sure what to expect. And then see the way they came out, the way they started the game, and the way they played most of the first half is basically what I expected. A little bit sloppy, a little bit slow, but I mean, Isaiah Livers, it looks like he didn't take any time off at all. He just got right back into rhythm, and he was just dialed back in. But everybody else, it just kind of took him a little while. And then I think the real turning point was in the second half when Mike Smith got popped in the mouth, and he sat on the ground for a few minutes and stuff like that. You could see a change in everybody.
Well, the Brett Davison,
from that moment on, it's a different team out there playing. They had a little more pep to their step. They were a little more feisty, kind of like what they were before all this COVID stoppage stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Brett Davison has that reputation. And, and Isaiah Livers talked about it after the game. Says, well, I know Brad. And he's a good guy and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you can be a good guy and still be a dirty basketball player. Off the court, you can be a good guy. I mean, but that was bullshit. I thought, and then, some people thought it wasn't intentional. I mean, Mike Smith was trying to wall up like that, trying to draw it. And, that was a nasty hit, man. I thought myself at the time.
I showed the replay of it to my wife a couple times, and she's like, God, I don't know. I said, man, I miss that stuff so much. I miss doing that, and I miss receiving it because that's the type of ball I like to play. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't dirty, but his face got in the way of my elbow. And well, sorry about your luck. So, and I am a little bit more feisty than normal. I'm wearing my old practice, jersey from 150 years ago that still fits somehow. But trying to walk down memory lane one more time.
Well, yeah, and you look tan. I mean, with the lighting's a little bit different. The lighting I can't see, but you look like you're tan.
Everything behiing me too, because I'm out here sitting on the patio. So
you look tan that way. I mean, you look good, dude. I mean, we're good here. We're good. So I want to go back to a guy who played your position, Hunter Dickinson. We're looking on the scroll right now. Freshman of the week for the 6th time. He had an amazing game, I thought. 11 points, 15 boards, 5 blocks. And I'm telling you what, Chris, to me, I mean, besides the, that emotional turnaround with the Mike Smith getting popped, Mike Smith in this particular play misses a 3. Hunter's under the basket. I mean, he's like literally getting boxed out under. He pauses. He spear grabs this ball out of the air, rotates to Livers. There's about 2:40 to go in the game, and Michigan's down by 1. Livers nails a 3 from the left wing. Boom, game over. Game over. Amazing play. And this is a guy, and I've talked about this today at a couple of podcasts, had not been playing to his level the last couple games preceding the pause. So he gets the pause. He's a freshman, and he probably worked his way through that mentally. That had to be a bitch. And then he comes back and plays like he plays. I mean, dissect Mr. Pivot Man, what his game was like.
I didn't like, one of his, if not his first shot, his first or second shot yesterday was a 3.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I railed on about that for years and years and years. Figure out the other part of your game first before, you start doing all that shooting 3 stuff and all that. But you could see it kind of took him a little while. Kind of took him a little bit of, Mike Apato's going to hit him. Reavers is going to hit him, Austin Dickinson practice is going to hit him, but not like that. And I think it took him a little bit of getting back to, okay, he's going to hit me and I'm going to have to hit him and just getting used to that physical level of play. But once he got it dialed in, I mean, he made a couple jump hooks and a couple spins to the basket and stuff, and I was like, those were pro moves. You could tell that's Juwan fine-tuning his already pretty well fine-tuned offensive game, and it was incredibly impressive. You mentioned his 5 blocks, which was his career high and all that, but he probably changed 10 other shots that he didn't actually get a hand on, but he just put that big paw up there And the guys are worried about it. So they're changing how they're shooting and stuff like that. And that's not something that'll show up in the stats. But if you watch him, he did that at least 10 to 15 times.
Yeah. No, he was truly amazing. There's a couple other guys, and I talk about this. My favorite word in the world is resiliency, because I think it just applies to everybody's daily life. I mean, you have your moments in your day that you have to be a little, you gotta, whether you're working or going to school or whatever you're doing, you get something goes wrong, or on a personal relation, whatever, and you got to be resilient. You got to work through it and go on to the next play. I thought Eli Brooks showed me a lot yesterday because his shot was not falling. If you remember that first half, he was not having a good game at all. But he ended up with 9 points. He got to the free throw line and saw the ball go in. He's 5 of 6 from the free throw line. He had 4 big rebounds in this game, and you can tell he's the son of a coach, because his coach, his high school coach, was his dad in Pennsylvania. Because just the way he's got that stoic look to him, like nothing is going to bother me. I mean, I thought and defensively, you've talked about him all year long, what a great defender he is.
No. He came out and he missed his first 3, and then he had, typically he gets into the paint and he shoots that little runner from about 8 to 10 feet away, and it's money. And he missed one when he got his own offensive rebound, missed the putback, and that was the one time where you could see him kind of like drop his head like, shit.
Yeah.
And then after that, he just started building on it. And he made clutch plays. He made clutch defensive plays. He was, he played the way a senior coming down the stretch is supposed to play.
Yeah.
He did everything that his team needed him to do when the offensive side of his game wasn't working early, and then he just contributed the rest of the way out.
Yeah, and I thought Franz Wagner, he had a double-double, 14 points, was absolutely – he's consistent. He really is. I mean, he has not played a bad game in a long time. And he finds a way to contribute. And that rolling – he had a – I'm trying to think. He drove to the lane because Michigan was not driving the ball in the first half. And Livers talked about this in the post-game presser, Chris, about we were settling too much. And they weren't defending. Obviously, they ramped up their defense. But I thought that one, I'm trying to think, I put them up by 4 with about $1:30 to go. He's got that rolling hook.
That
running hook. It's not the thing that Xavier Simpson did last year, but I mean it's got a little different. I mean, and he's so long. I mean, he can. It's hard to block a shot. And he was going against some bigs in that, and boy, that was a big basket for Franz Wagner.
It was huge, and it just shows his level of, development in his game, that he decided at that big point in the game, I'm not passing the ball to Livers. Not that he's not what we need. I'm taking the shot. I'm going at the basket. I put on the extra 20 pounds. I'm going to the basket, and I'm going to try and finish it. He just did everything. He was in the middle of every single play on defense. Every time we turn around, he's bumping into somebody or chucking a cutter or doing something, and then his offensive game is it's exploded from what it was last year. Last year he really just liked to shoot and he couldn't really go to the bucket. Now he's scoring inside. He's shooting 15-footers. He's doing everything.
Yeah, and Michigan outscored Wisconsin 40-20 in the second half. I mean, Wisconsin shot 25% from the field in the second half. I mean, the first half, they'll hit the big threes, 40. Yeah.
Everything they needed to do, they were doing, and they were stopping Michigan on the other side. And it could have very easily gotten away from Michigan really quick to start that second half. Because to be honest, we didn't start very well coming out of the gate in the second half. We were a little slow, a little sluggish. Right. And it was like, man, if Wisconsin starts making a couple buckets, this could get away real quick. And we just hung around. And I'm telling you, that jolt that Mike Smith, it changed the entire dynamic of what we were doing.
Yeah. Well, because when you come from behind and you draw even, it's like, it's like a car. You need to take a pit stop. I mean, you're gassed, and now you're even with them, and they haven't been, having to, cut loose that much energy because they've been ahead. But I want to talk about Juwan Howard, if I could, Chris, for a second here. A couple, first of all, at halftime and at post game. So at halftime, and this is what we learned from Isaiah Livers, who is probably the most transparent Michigan basketball player next to Chris Young, of course. After as far as telling what's going on behind the scenes, okay.
Yeah.
And so he goes, he says, yeah, at halftime, Coach Howard comes in and he's smiling and he's clapping. Okay, they're down by 12. They were down by 14 points, and they didn't play. There was not much in that first half to be excited about, but he knew this team was coming back. And and Isaiah talked about trust. The trust that goes from coach to player, player to coach, and what he says. Were you that way? I mean, did you trust Tommy Amaker when you played
100%.
with him, for him?
Yeah, whatever Coach Amaker told me and what the things he taught me. I mean, that's written in concrete. That's set in stone. Like that, the things that he taught me were the basis for my beliefs and my understanding how I played basketball as a pro for 12 years. That's the philosophy that I used.
That's
it really
strong.
Is. So, for Juwan to come in and be hyped and excited at halftime, even though you're down, and you would think normally he's coming in there and kicking over chairs and knocking over chairs and stuff like that. With his, they didn't play poorly, but they didn't play up to their same level, and Wisconsin shot the ball out of their mind. Yeah. So you got to come in there as a coach. You got to come in and say, man, we got this. We just got to play a little better. They're not going to keep shooting like this. And if they do, you pat them on the back and you say, okay, maybe we'll beat them next time. Because it was just one of those things. They were hitting threes and they were making shots that they really had no business making. But
And then post game, I want you to comment on this. So Shawnee Brown, who I thought played a great floor game.
Yeah.
He had 1 point. He had a back half of a 2-shot foul, but he was terrific in this game. Okay. Yeah. He's a grad transfer like Mike Smith. He's got, he's played all his career, most of those 1,000 points he scored for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Okay. So Juwan goes in there and in the post game, and this is on YouTube. I'll send it to you if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Gives him the game ball.
Yeah.
Okay. And the players go crazy and they mob him. And this is a grad transfer coming into this team. And when you saw the image of that post game, it looked like this kid had played for them for 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that happen? And I think, to me, this sets the groundwork to other people who are interested in transferring.
100%.
This is the guy you want to go to, right?
Yeah. It starts with Juwan and the coaching staff and just the family mentality and the inclusive mentality that they have. But it also says a lot about Shawnee Brown, how he came here and he bought in. He wasn't walking around campus wearing his old Wake Forest stuff. He got rid of all that, and he's wearing all of his Michigan gear. He was bought in. He's a part of this team, and I would have thought, if I didn't know what the backstory was behind the whole post-game celebration, I'd have thought Juwan had been recruiting this kid since he was 14 years old, knew his parents, knew his grandma, like the whole deal. Like this was like his second son, the way that he just embraced him and the way the team just rallied around him. It was an amazing thing, and it's a hell of a feat for him to score 1,000 points. And I don't care if it's Division III, NAIA, or whatever. It's 1,000 points is 1,000 points. That's something I didn't get to that. I didn't get anywhere near that. And it's an awesome accomplishment.
Yeah, and this is he played on a team that they haven't won. I mean, Michigan's won 14 games. That's more games than he ever won at Wake Forest. I mean, this is like he hit the lotto playing on this team. But it was Juwan Howard recognizing not only does he have the ability to blend into this team and help this team, but obviously he's doing personality evaluations and character evaluations to make that decision, because you can muck up your team real bad with a bad acquisition, just like you can in the pro levels, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I went through that for basically all 4 of my years at Michigan. We would get guys in that they're great basketball players, but they're not the best people you ever want to be around, and that'll just kill your chemistry. And you get that one grad transfer to come in and everything's different because he wants to do it a different way and he thinks it should be done this way, and he's not totally buying in. He doesn't like this guy, and it could be a big problem. So I'm sure there's a lot of research and talk to him. You're basically going through the recruiting process for a kid in the course of 3 months. That what you would normally do in 2 or 3 years when the kid's in high school. So, hats off to Juwan and the rest of the coaches for, the great job that they've done finding these transfers. Because, I mean, these two guys are perfect fits. I don't know if there's anybody else in the country we could have gotten to plug into those two positions and have it work the way it's working.
No,
and I don't know if those two guys could have gone somewhere else and had it work the way it's working. I don't know that you could put them on Michigan State's roster and they're doing the same things and having the same success. It's just that great chemistry, and there was a great group around them already, and they just plugged in seamlessly.
Right. Okay. The last thing I want to, because we're going to do a couple podcasts this week, so I don't want to gas you here, and I want to get you to get back on the beach.
Yeah. I'm still recovering from the COVID pause too, so I got to get myself back in shape a little bit.
But I want to ask you about cardiovascular and things. Hunter Dickinson made a really interesting point when we had two post game guests. It was Livers and Hunter, and he said, the first 4 minutes, and this maybe goes back to how he played. He indicates the first 4 minutes of the game, you're gassed more than any part of the game. And I want to ask you, is that anxiety? Why is that? It seems like you'd have a full tank. What is it?
It's something about it. You come walking out into the arena, and now the guys don't have to deal with, the opposing crowd and the band and the student section and all that kind of stuff. But it's just, you're so amped up because you've been preparing for this. Now they've been preparing for a couple of weeks, but normally it's a couple of days, and you're thinking about it, and you're there, and it's the whole thing, and you're going through layup lines, and you're dunking, and you're getting your teammates hyped, and you're jumping around like idiots, and then you go out there and play, and you run up and down, and oh shit, you come to the bench at that first 4 minute timeout, and I don't care who you are, I don't care what type of shape you're in, you sit down and you're gassed, and then you take a little drink of water, catch your breath, listen to your coach, and you go out and you're okay. But there's just something about all that emotion that it just comes out. It's just how it is. And
so does that happen to everybody? I mean,
everybody. It might not happen to everybody every game, but it happens to some extent to every player. I've never met a player, never played with somebody, even at a pro level, that doesn't happen.
Wow.
The first time out, those first 4 or 5 trips up and down the court, especially if there's not really any breaks, no fouls, no turnovers or anything like that, you come to the bench and you're gassed.
It seems like it would be discouraging, but so when does that work its way out? I mean, how does that? How does that work in your body? I mean, how does that work from a mental? Is it mental or what is it? Okay,
yeah, it's totally mental. You get that first time out, you catch that break, and then you just kind of know that I'm in good enough shape. I've been doing all this running and sprinting stuff and all this. I'm good.
Getting the flow.
It just kind of washes over you, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's go. It's a strange occurrence.
What I was concerned at, and this is what I think the women's basketball team and Michigan's hockey team, I heard some, during these breaks, and some other teams like Villanova coming out there, they're trying to do too much because they've all had this pent up. We want to go play, and then all of a sudden they can go play, and they're trying to make the magic happen instantaneously and do it all at the same time. Mm-hmm. Maybe that had something to do with Hunter struggling early on, but I mean, Livers saved their ass in that first half. It is so fortunate that he came back for his senior year.
Like I said, it looked like he hadn't missed a beat. It looked like he'd been playing every day, shooting every day. Like he was just right back in the middle of this, picked up right where he left off a couple weeks ago. It was unbelievable. And everybody else, it took them a little while. And there was a little bit of oh man, I've been thinking about this for a couple weeks, and guys trying to force things and stuff like that. We didn't have any turnovers to start the game, but then down the stretch, we had a couple turnovers. It's like, come on, guys, what are you doing? Those are turnovers you don't make because of plays you don't need to make. Let's stay in what we do and, have some success.
Speaking of 6 turnovers the entire game for Michigan, that's like Beeline-esque team.
Yeah.
That was huge in that game. That was.
And one of them was Brandon Johns literally dribbling the ball off his foot at half court by himself. Like, I don't know what that situation was when he came in.
I know. That was I mentioned that on another podcast that I thought I was really happy because Brandon was so excited that whole game on the bench, only played 4 minutes. It tells you something about that team. Even guys that aren't contributing are, and they've had a bad game, and he had a bad game. I mean, he's played better than that, but it looked over there like he was killing it the whole game. And that's what this team is different, CY.
Yeah,
it really is. I don't know what it is, but there's some kind of dynamics here. I'm not saying they're going to cut down the nets in Indy, but good Lord, I'm excited.
They've got all the pieces. They've shown now that they've got all the pieces. They've got they've got all the players plus the mentality plus the coaches. I mean, everything's just kind of falling into place the right way. And you nailed it. If you watch a Michigan basketball game and you just watch the bench, those guys don't sit down.
It's crazy.
Doesn't matter what the play, doesn't matter what it is, they're getting up and flexing and they're talking shit to the other team and they're in the game. Where if you watch a lot of other teams, yeah, cool. Yeah, good job, man. All right. Yeah, they're sitting back and they're lounging. It's like, okay, yeah, they might get a little hype for a dunk, but that's it. These guys go nuts on every play.
I know Adrian Nunez, who used to play a little bit more than he is now. He's not playing at all.
He's not playing at all, and he's the first one off the bench. Same with Jace Howard. I mean, he's like the leader of the whole thing. I mean, he's just and unless they're up 25, those guys probably aren't getting in the game, and it just shows how much everyone's bought into what Juwan and the coaches have got.
It's cool. Well, I will let you get to your beach stroll right now.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yep, I'm going for a little sunset stroll on the beach tonight. So, yeah.
So you enjoy yourself, big guy, and
yes,
you let me know when. Hey, well, we can do this. We're going to thread these podcasts, ramp them up a little bit. As these games ramp up, maybe doing over the weekend or later in the week, whatever. Got a big game Thursday night, and then next, but we're not going to worry about Ohio State. Let's focus on Rutgers at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, we got to get past Rutgers because Rutgers, fortunately, we're not playing them in Piscataway, but they're tough. They're athletic, they're tough, and we'll see.
All right, big guy, you enjoy yourself, CY, and we'll talk to you later in the week on another Down on the Blocks with